It's 9 o'clock, and so we are going to just jump right in. I see most people have their cameras off and audio off. I appreciate the audio off, especially as we get started. But what if we just popped on? If you have a video capability, just to come in and say hi, let everybody know that you're here. Let's give everybody a wave. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, so a lot of times we talk about making eye contact, saying hi, showing appreciation for those that you work around. So let's just do that real quick and say hi. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. We've got others that are joining us, and I'm excited for our day today. We'll get to the actual speaker with the Kentucky Chamber in just a minute. But first, we have a couple of pieces of business that I wanted to make sure that our board members had time to share. First of all, I do want to say just welcome to those. I think we have a couple of guests this time. So thank you for joining us. It has been a maybe difficult week and weekend for some of you. So hopefully everybody has power. Hopefully everybody is cleaning up from storm damage, taking care of their employees who maybe had some damage. And I know it's a short week for many of you. So many of people, this is their first day back. So thank you for joining us, especially on a short week. We do appreciate that. All right, I'm going to start us off with Mary Ann. If she's able to join us, I think she's logged in and going to pipe in for a membership update. Mary Ann, can you do that for us?
Yes, we are currently at 86 members. We will be kicking off our summer discount drive this summer for new members. If you've never been a member of Four Rivers SHRM, we invite you to take advantage of this discount that will start June 3rd.
Thank you so much, Mary Ann. So if you know of someone in your circle or in your network who is not connected with Four Rivers SHRM, please tell them about your experience with this organization, what you get out of it, what you see in our newsletters, what you see in our meetings, and we would love to welcome anybody who's never been a part. Thank you very much, Mary Ann. Alan is not able to be with us this morning, so Mary Ann's going to share the treasurer's report. I'm going to go through that quickly. This is our end of April report, and as you see in our revenue, we have welcomed 3 new members that paid during the month of April. That you'll see that under membership dues, but then also under services. He said that was just stuck in the wrong place. He's going to fix that and upload that to our to the account, the Dropbox account. So we'll fix that. We have 3 new members. And then as you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that for this year, we are operating with about $8,000 operating for this year. We did have some revenue come in primarily from one more sponsorship from our spring conference. That you'll see at that top part. We are still having some receipts coming through from the conference. That's our biggest expenditure. But so far for this year, we're doing well with our operating expenses, ready to be well suited for the rest of the year. Are there any questions about the treasurer's report? If there are, I'll be happy to try my best to answer them. Okay, I don't see any, so we're just going to move forward with that, okay? That moves us to scholarship. Let me see if Deb is on here. Deb, are you on here? I don't see her. She may have had something come up. So again, I'll do a quick scholarship report. We did have 2 scholarship applications. Her committee is going to move forward with evaluating those and awarding those in the next little bit. If you are part of that scholarship committee, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And we are excited to have revamped that and moving forward and getting that into a large part of our current members, along with the students that are in our area. All right, next page. I know I saw you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Catherine had asked me to kind of update everybody on kind of some of the events that are happening this coming month. But I just wanted to start with that we're finishing up AAPI month. And for those that don't know what that is, it's Asian American Pacific Islander Appreciation Month. And so we just celebrate the heritage and the sacrifices, you know, of those. So if your company hasn't done that, or if they still wish to, you've got a couple more days to do that. And so I know Pride Month is coming up, but I haven't really seen a lot of publicity as far as events that are going on. I do know that Murray's not doing theirs until September. And I checked the page that I had followed for Paducah's and I didn't see anything. I'm not sure if Rachel might know more about that just because her boss was on like the planning committee for the one in Paducah. But those are usually the only two locations that I kind of see, you know, events actually going on as far as like parades and things like that. But Juneteenth is also coming up, and I have found several events that might be of interest to those in the group. First, Paducah is doing theirs on Wednesday, June 19th at 5 p.m., and it's being put on by the NAACP in collaboration with the Carson Center. And so they are gonna just have a celebration that's gonna be emceed by Paducah native NFL football player and actor Curtis Hamilton. And it looks like it's just a program, maybe music and a show, and then followed by a meal with chicken or fried fish on the concert lawn. And you can purchase tickets through the Carson Center for $25. If you have any questions, you can contact the Carson Center box office. So that is the first event I saw. And then Hopkinsville is also doing something on June 15th. And it's at the Boys and Girls Club from 1 to 6, and they're doing an actual festival with music and speakers and vendors, a kids area and food trucks. And so that is all that I saw on that one, but there is a Facebook page for that one called Hopkinsville Juneteenth Celebration. And then Mayfield is doing their annual celebration, and all I know is that it's going to go on June 14th through the 16th, but I haven't seen them post the actual events yet. I think they're still finishing up the planning, and they haven't probably rolled out the flyer. But it will be held that full weekend, June 14th through the 16th in Mayfield. And then the last one I found was actually in Nashville. So obviously that's not too far for some of us to travel. And they are having it at Fort Negley, and that's a very significant piece of history to Nashville. And so there's a page that I found on Instagram called Juneteenth 615. But they have also not actually put out the actual time or the actual events, but it's at 5:30 on let's see, do they even have the date? On June 19th. So the actual date for Juneteenth. So that's just a couple of different things going on if you and your families want to travel and just celebrate and learn more about the holiday.
Thank you so much, Paige. I appreciate you sharing those with our group so that we can even get information out to our employees that are interested. All right, excellent. Are there any other board members that have a report or need to have any announcements? Okay, with that, oh, and I see Rachel just posted something in the chat. Thank you so much, Rachel. Information specifically for Paducah's Pride Festival. Thank you very much. All right, so we are going to move forward with our speaker. I'm going to let Melissa Yates introduce John Cox, who might be a surprise. You can explain that a little bit more, Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. Our speaker was scheduled to be John Hughes from the Kentucky Chamber for this morning. Unfortunately for John, he fell ill, but thankfully for us, John Cox has stepped in to fill this role for us this morning. John is the Director of Public Affairs for the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. He's been there since 2019. Beyond general business issues, he works at the chamber on issues including infrastructure, technology, healthcare, and Kentucky signature distilling and equine industries. He is going to speak to us today just about the General Assembly and things that came through to that that might affect all of us in our roles in HR or legal. So with that, I will turn it over to you, John, and I will say thank you for filling in on such short notice this morning. We greatly appreciate you being here.
No, of course. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you all having me. And again, I'm John Cox. I'm Director of Public Affairs at the Kentucky Chamber. Can you all hear me okay? Everything good? Just making sure. Okay. And so I want to dive right into it. I have a PowerPoint. I can share my screen if that's all right. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to just dive in, give you an overview of the session as a whole, and how, our work impacted businesses. So, total business savings just over $1 billion for Kentucky employers, which equates to the savings about $589 per employee. So these savings come on top of unprecedented savings, in investments also in some of our priority areas like education, infrastructure, workforce, et cetera. So economic development also. But our savings, our estimates of savings for Kentucky employers are limited to bills that impact, quantifiable, whose impacts are quantifiable. So there are some bills and policies pushed that aren't necessarily included or hard to quantify. But two of the biggest savings drivers for this package was House Bill 6, which had to do a lot of budget, a lot of investments in childcare specifically, and then House Bill 15, which was setting up some data privacy protections for consumers across Kentucky. That was another important one for that effort. So I'll go over those in a minute, but also just wanted to talk about our vision plan from the Kentucky Chamber perspective and how the policy, stances and positions are made. It's all built on having this foundational vision for the future of our state. And so Kentucky's winning strategy is what we call it, and it seeks to provide that vision. It's input and guidance from our board of directors, as well as legislators, and input from local chambers as well. But trying to put us on the road to an abundance of economic opportunity, focused on high quality jobs and a rapidly growing population and workforce. So there's 10 key steps. You can learn more about it on our website, but just wanted to kind of highlight that before I dive into it. So I mentioned House Bill 6, the state budget. So this was a budget year. We have a budget passed every 2 years typically, and those are even numbered years. So we have a 30-day session in odd numbered years when there's not a budget. We had 60-day session this session when there was a budget. So we were pleased to say that there were no new taxes adopted for businesses in this year's budget, which was always a huge win. But there was like a historic investment into our Commonwealth. So House Bill 6 was the state's 2-year spending plan, totaling $14.8 billion in the first fiscal year 2025, and then $15.2 billion in fiscal year 26. So again, it increased funding for key chamber priority areas such as childcare, K-12 education, post-secondary education, student financial aid, workforce development, pensions, and just further basic economic development. So thanks to a surplus, we were able to commit a lot of state dollars for one-time spending, and this was a sizable investment into infrastructure that was $450 million going to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet to support state-supported construction program and different select projects over the next 2 years. Another $344 million was allocated for water and sewer projects and improvements there. So infrastructure is just so huge in terms of, people are going to go. Our motto for a while there was like better roads lead to better jobs, essentially. And so you have to be connected. That includes technology, that includes broadband infrastructure, all types. So very important to us. Also a lot of local projects, local communities that were included in this funding. Probably don't have time to go into a ton of it, but I promise you, I was actually speaking to the Paducah Chamber last Friday briefly, but listening more to, the members there. Thank all the legislators. Leader Rudy especially was going over the different projects that they secured for West Kentucky. And I know that's pretty much your all's region too. And so, you all definitely carried your weight there. And I would take the time to thank your legislators when you get a chance, because there were some great wins, I think. Higher education, $60 million for a vet school. I guess it's not technically the vet school, but it's, again, laying the foundation for Murray State. I know that was a big, important project out there. But I know it's not quite there yet either. So, I think it's baby steps towards that goal. But UK had some big investments in energy research projects. 125 million to design a Commonwealth Center for Biomedical Excellence in Covington, with partnership between NKU, UK, and KCTCS. Economic development was prioritized with $50 million annually for mega development projects. So this is kind of a fund I think legislators use if there is a big company looking to relocate to Kentucky, then kind of have that pool for some strategic investments in infrastructure and some sort of incentive package as well. So let's see. So yeah, I kind of went over the budget there. So childcare support. So really one of our biggest issues, of course, is workforce across the state. You all know this as well as anyone, but so as we've traveled across Kentucky and taking input from our members and local chambers, one of the biggest barriers to workforce, childcare, continues to be at the top of the list. And we took some steps that were important to try to address this session. House Bill 561 was sponsored by Representative Samara Heverin, promotes a collaborative effort among local governments, area development districts, and community stakeholders to receive a certified child care community designation. So it kind of encourages local communities to look at some zoning reforms potentially that would impact, just how welcoming a downtown or something like that would be for a child care center to move in. So that was a big win. It's just trying to help reduce barriers to opening child care centers across Kentucky. And then also in the budget, there was $62.8 million in state funding for child care investments. So we were really pleased to see these. Funding for the Child Care Assistance Assistance Program, which is CCAP. We were able to preserve most of that to where it was, around COVID over the last couple of years. And then also preserve the CCAP funding for childcare workers. So the folks that work at those actual facilities, we thought it was very important to continue to ensure that they have childcare for their own kids while they're watching someone else's. So that was big. The Employee Child Care Assistance Partnership was something that we worked on 2 years ago, and it's kind of a state match. If you, as an employer, want to provide some funding for childcare to your employees, you go online and through the state and apply for it, and the state will then match that benefit up to a certain amount. So even if it's just $50 a week or something like that adds up for these especially younger families trying to get their career off to a good start. And so that was important. Early childhood development scholarships, and then initiatives such as innovations in early childhood grant programs. So definitely trying to get as creative as we can in that space, because it's a problem, access and workers, so. And then House Bill 179, that allows Kentucky employers to offer more comprehensive benefits to their workforce, just giving them more options. That gets the Kentucky Department of Insurance to authorize paid family leave as something, but it's completely voluntary, but it's something that, businesses can offer now. All right. And then the technology space was a big area that we were involved with this session. There's a data privacy bill. So just trying to seek, basic protections for Kentuckians when they're going online, using their social media or just, at work, whatever it may be, being able to ensure that your data is protected and hold, companies liable for these things, for taking your data without your permission or consent. So there was a bill that was a little more unfriendly to the business community that passed in the 2023 session. It just passed the Senate. So we were able to defeat it in the House, bring all the stakeholders together, and work on a package that was, acceptable to businesses. It's something that's passed in a few other states, Tennessee, Virginia, Indiana, recently. So that definitely saved a lot of money in that, savings that I mentioned before, that if we had passed the original version that was put forth last year, it would have been very burdensome on businesses in terms of compliance and in terms of potential lawsuits, because there are just so many new definitions and so much in there that was kind of unclear. So another bill in the tech space was autonomous vehicles. Sets up a regulatory framework to allow autonomous vehicles to operate in Kentucky. There have already been 25 states that have done this so far. Trying to address commercial truck driver shortages, support a growing economy, and ensuring safety on the road. We supported this. I mean, the technology is there that we feel pretty confident in being able to pass something like this, but there was a little bit of pushback. So for semi trucks, at least for the first 2 years, to get everybody comfortable with it, there will be a driver required to be in the vehicle at first. And there's always, if anything goes wrong, we can come back and look at it. But just felt like this was a pretty important step to keep up with other states, as we are such a logistics hub. This was pretty important. So, and then there was another resolution that established a task force with to study trends in AI, artificial intelligence, and vet future bills in the interim. So they'll probably be meeting here in the next month or so to start that task force and just look at bills that have been filed that maybe didn't have enough steam, in the last session or two, that have to deal with AI and tech in that space, and just kind of vet them thoroughly enough to be able to pass something, try to stay on top of that, as difficult as it is, as rapidly as technology is changing. We, of course, are big advocates for our signature industries. Senate Bill 50 passed, supports craft distillers by allowing them to distribute up to 5,000 gallons of their distilled spirit per year to a licensed retailer. So this kind of allows the smaller up and coming distilleries to build their brand more efficiently and bypass, the distributors in the early stages. Senate Bill 299 reorganized the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission and the Department of Charitable Gaming into a new entity called the Kentucky Horse Racing and Gaming Corporation. It's similar to the Kentucky Lottery, but just trying to ensure that Kentucky gaming, regardless of what form, is operated at a high level of integrity and accountability. So that was the big push there. There's another omnibus alcohol bill that creates a new license to sell vintage distilled spirits in Kentucky. It expanded some retail package licensing and supports tourism. So a couple of other bills that passed that we supported. House Bill 320 has to do with wage and hour cases, pretty much employment law, keeping the statute of limitations. We've changed that from 5 years to 3, which is definitely cuts down on record keeping. But these are wage discrimination, wage and hour type disputes, things like that. And it was actually, I think, written by some of our Kentucky SHRM members and some of our attorneys. So definitely a pro-business thing that will encourage, those cases to get settled faster and just not be looming over time. House Bill 136 clarifies that the environmental audit privilege applies to areas served by air pollution control districts. I think this was a big one in Louisville that I did not work as closely on. Worksite safety has become a big issue. Just people speeding through, work zones and some accidents that have occurred. So it just prohibits operating a vehicle in dangerous ways in a work zone and establishes a little tougher penalties. But, proud to say there were no new mandates or pro-business, policy rollbacks or lawsuit lending, a lot of things that we were fought against. So just as much offensive as we play a lot of defense on bad bills that we want defeated as well. But yeah, and then just to kind of highlight like all the economic development work we've been doing, it just kind of shows like how much we're producing in the state. In 2023, Kentucky exported $40.2 billion worth of product, which broke the single year record. And it's just interesting that aerospace products and parts made up 13.3 billion of those exports. So just kind of emphasizes how big of a role that industry plays in our state. So a lot of the bills we pass, trying to move the needle on that. So just want to make sure everyone knows, like, Kentucky Chamber is here, serve the business community as a voice in Frankfort and Washington. So if you're not engaged with us, please reach out. If you are a member and you're not on one of our policy councils, or you're not getting invites to events, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to address any concerns that you have with try to expand on some of the policies passed, and then you can keep up with us on social media and through our news website. It's called kychamberbottomline.com. So encourage you. We have some great stories on there to check that out. Just want to highlight the importance of our local chambers and our partnerships there too. We have 80 business leaders attended Small Business Day at the Capitol. I know that Lyle Hanna had a SHRM Day at the Capitol as well that I think some of y'all might have been in attendance for. I think that was great momentum to build off of. Would encourage you to try to make it up to the Capitol at least once. I know it's a long drive from West Kentucky, but it matters to your legislators to see you there in that setting, I think, and just to know that you all are engaged with what's going on. So definitely encourage that. And so, yeah, we had a great amount of local and chambers engaged in the advocacy process, whether it's signing a letter or, direct outreach to a legislator. That helps. And then I also just wanted to mention this Rising Leaders program. This is empowering our next generation of leaders through, it's specifically for folks that are first year college. First generation college goers or graduates that are trying to get into the workforce. I think it's a program that kind of you could scan more and learn more about it, but just trying to partner with employers to get first generation college students into the workforce and develop those connections that they need to be successful for the future. So that is about all I have. I'm happy to try to take some questions if you have some on policy or anything else Kentucky Chamber related.
I'd love for our members to pipe in. We've got the Director of Public Affairs for the Kentucky Chamber with us, so it's a great time to ask questions. I am curious, John, we had, I forgot the gentleman's name, but we had someone from the chamber talk about the Employee Child Care Assistant Partnership last year. And at that time, he said, I think it was $15 million were allocated, and he encouraged everyone use it because if it's not used, they may, it may go away. So can you talk about the utilization of that and what that conversation was like during this legislative session?
So we didn't get as much funding for it in this budget cycle. I think it was more like $4 million, but we had the 15. And so I think some businesses have been a little bit hesitant, especially in the beginning, to come online. It's only been on for about a year or just over. And so we are having some bigger employers, sign up for it. I think some people are also, have concerns of like, well, why am I just going to give a benefit to my employees with young kids and then not? But it's just an understanding from employers that this matters to our workforce. This matters to our bottom line. And so I think CVG Airport is a huge employer that just came online to get their employees involved with it. There's a few other big ones, but there's still a good amount of money for that, right now. And so if there needs to be more, we'll advocate for more, but just trying to encourage people to sign up. Because I'll post a link. Somebody asked how do employers get online for this. kychamber.com/childcare. And we have lots of links on there to apply. So, and frequently asked questions, that sort of thing. So let me post that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So there's the link in the chat. If people haven't heard about it, please go take a look. It is a great benefit. Our conversation with the chamber last year is still on our YouTube channel. So if you wanted to go back and watch that and learn sort of how it originated, what the purpose is, how it differs from some of the other child care initiatives. It has a very similar name to another one. And so you can learn more about that from our meeting that we had last year. Other questions for John?
Let me ask, how many people got to Frankfurt this year as part of one of the advocacy days? Anyone? West Kentucky night or Kentucky?
I did, John. I came up
Yeah, I
with
think I remember seeing you, Crystal, at the
it
Files
was a
group.
really good day. I was just gonna say, when they offer that next year, I would encourage you to go. It was very eye-opening for me, and I'm the first person to say I hate politics. And so I'm always hesitant to do anything related to that feels even related to that. But it did not feel that way at all on the Hill. So I would encourage people to go to the Capitol when they have that day next year. I think there were like 90 something of us
Yeah,
that
it
were
was a-
there. And so it was a very nice representation of the HR profession there at the Capitol that day. And so I think they'll be doing a lot more of that.
And I'll just say to that comment about hating politics, I mean, I don't know anyone that like loves the divisiveness and the polarization going on right now, but I do feel like that our Kentucky delegation, or at least our state reps and state senators, work a little bit better together and have a better attitude towards getting things done than in Congress. And you're their constituents, so they want to see you. They want to be nice and appreciative of you coming up and making your voices heard, even if you don't agree on every policy decision they're making. Like they do appreciate it, and you know we're trying to get us involved with get out the vote efforts and civics education, not trying to push people one way or another, but just tell people it's important to pay attention to this stuff, you know. So
I have a question, please.
yes, sir. Go ahead.
You were
Chris.
speaking about, did you say something about House Bill 3?
I did not say no. I didn't touch base
There
on
was
that
something,
one.
the House Bill about, oh, I caught the end of it, man. I was trying to listen to so much other stuff.
Sure. Well, I mean, I can go back, but do you remember what it had to do with?
Yeah. Something about time limits as far as I think it's a shorter time period.
Oh, the statute of limitations bill. Yeah,
Statute
that
of
was House
limitations.
Bill 320.
320. Okay.
Yes. And
Gotcha.
so it's all employer based claims. And
Okay.
so just tries to cut down on the record keeping from 5 years to 3.
I'll look it up. I just needed to know the House.
Yeah,
number.
sure.
I couldn't hear it. Well, I appreciate it.
John, I have another question. Can you
Sure.
speak to the efforts? I mean, everybody is feeling the squeeze of the workforce. And I know that there was a lot of conversation about the child labor laws and things that came up this spring. Can you speak to any of the efforts that you all had in just in terms of workforce?
Yeah, on that particular bill with the child labor laws, I don't think that we got involved. I think there were some that supported that, like within our membership, but it wasn't quite enough to go out and get in front of it. But no, I mean that's definitely a concern that I've heard from you know people all over the state in terms of trying to get younger folks into the workforce faster. It's just such a multifaceted approach, right? And we do a lot of work in the substance use disorder space, and we passed a lot of bills recently to in recent sessions. There weren't as many this session that really made it through, but I mean that's a key area of our workforce, right? That needs you know meaningful employment to get on that path to you know being better and recovering. So that's a key area that we work in. Obviously, transportation infrastructure does help with the workforce, just making people more connected. Some of that money goes to broadband funding, like I said, and just being more connected on roads and bridges and having more effective ways to travel. But public transportation is an element there too that received funding for sure this session. But childcare was our main focus, and I think that was pretty clear in our agenda this year that was where we wanted to hone in. But we've done a lot of other things over the last few sessions. I mean, we did some reforms to the unemployment insurance system that have a little more skin in the game when they're doing their work searches, applying for jobs, because we would hear about employers saying, well, I have this great candidate, lined up for an interview, but they just pretty much wanted to have the interview to report back to get their benefits. So things like that, just not the attitude that we want. When we have I think we're in the bottom 5 of states in terms of workforce participation. I think it's like 56-ish% of that are between the age of 18 and 65 that are able to work. So, I mean, it's discouraging for sure, but I think right now with the amount of baby boomers that are retiring, I mean, it's almost just like trying not to make that get any worse before we can really start to push those numbers up. And it's, trying to attract new businesses to our state, trying to attract more people, more workers in, and just, hoping that that will help grow our economy, grow our budget, so have more people paying in. And we're trying to, gradually lower the personal income tax as well. And that's a key component of our agenda also.
Other questions for John?
John, this is Mary Ann Medlock with the West Kentucky Workforce Board. Just as a point of correction, retirees are not included in the labor force participation rate, specifically when you look at the prime age of 24 to 55. So that even catches those early retirements in healthcare and education. So the baby boomers leaving the workforce is not going to affect labor force participation.
I must have heard that wrong then from a colleague, actually. I apologize on that. Thank you.
It's a very complicated metric and few
Sure.
people truly understand it. And it's really just a snapshot in time. Even the pandemic didn't really cause any blips with it when you look at it over a span of 30 years.
Sure.
So,
yeah, we did do a study on that. That was, ours said 20 years in the making. But yeah, the crisis just seemed to get worse with COVID, but maybe, it was always there. So
it was always there, and you have to look over a course of a career. So
sure.
You have to go all the way back. So anyway, I just wanted to share that note because
no, I do appreciate that. Yeah, distinction.
John, I know you mentioned the Kentucky SHRM Day that they had earlier this year, and the Small Business Day. Are there other ways that you would suggest that we could utilize to advocate for our region, or for our particular organizations or industries?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just getting involved with your local chambers are obviously a good way to, most of them have the legislators there to speak on the session or give a preview or an overview after the fact. So I think, that's one of the best ways, obviously, and a lot of local chambers organize their own trips. Different leadership programs. I know Leadership Paducah was up here, I think, this session. There's a couple others. I did Leadership Kentucky last year, and that was a great program that definitely, got in front of a lot of different, legislators, but also just business leaders across the state. A great program, and all those programs, leadership, anything is, great way to network and connect with the decision makers across your community. So, and then I know West Kentucky does a day where they bus up a few groups. So that's just another option if you can't make the other two work. So, but yeah, just developing a relationship back home with your legislators. So when it comes time to ask them for something, they don't just think you have your hand out. Like you already have that relationship kind of established, and you talk to each other, every month or two, just check in. Like I think that that's important to just kind of massage that, so that when an ask does come up, they're not blindsided by it. They know that something's coming. So anyone else?
Any other questions?
Right. Thank you all so much.
John, allow me to thank you again for filling in this morning. We
course.
enjoyed your presentation. It was very informational. It's always good to know what's going on in Frankfort because we don't always hear all of it on this end of the state. So thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm going to put my email in the chat box as well in case anybody has further questions on anything. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I've got a couple of announcements, so if y'all can hold on for maybe 5 more minutes, or less, maybe. I've got a couple things I wanted to share with you. We haven't talked a lot about some of the recent changes that were announced federally over the last month or two, but I wanted to make sure you all saw, and we'll continue to have information in our newsletter. There is a DOL webinar on the overtime final rule later on this week, Thursday on the 30th, and then also on Monday, June 3rd.
Catherine, those webinars are full.
They are full.
They
Okay.
are full.
Thank you for letting us know that, Marianne. If we hear of any replays, we'll make sure and let you know. But we will continue to look for opportunities for our membership to learn about that, and also the non-compete rule with the FTC. So wanted to make sure you knew that we're going to pass along any information as we get it. The second announcement that I have, y'all seen this in our newsletter. We've announced it in our previous meetings. June 4th is our Fort Campbell Soldier for a Day in-person event. And we have already submitted those that have registered, but today is the absolute last day that we can submit names. So if you have not registered yet, please do so today. Just send a message to Marianne right now, letting her know that you do want to participate on June 4th. We, again, have sent the bulk of names, but we can trickle in a few more if you are interested. We just have to know by today. So please do that. I did want to just remind you that y'all are probably getting messages about this. We have several members who are going to be attending the SHRM conference at the end of June. Just wish you well and can't wait to hear back a report about that. We might spend some time in our July meeting talking about the SHRM conference from those that you were able to attend. If you're not able to attend the National SHRM conference, I want to remind you that the Kentucky SHRM conference is August 27th through 29th. That's coming up. Registrations are open now. It's going to be in Louisville at the Galt House. So if you're not able to do Chicago, maybe that is something that's doable. I know we do have several members that attend that. And then the last thing that we have, I do want to say hi to Brian McBride. He's joining us with Holiday World, and he has gifted our chapter with 2 tickets to give away. So thank you very much, Brian. Many of us in this region know and love Holiday World. And Crystal, do you want to share your
Sure.
She's been in charge of giving those away.
Okay.
So thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Brian. Our team is taking our folks on June 15th to Holiday World, so we're excited to come and visit them on that day. And today we drew a name for those participants that were here today. And congratulations to Gage Moore. Gage, you are the winner of the 2 Holiday World tickets. And so Brian will be in touch with you. Gage, if you can put your contact information in the chat box, or Brian's put his in there too, and also with the link for that. So if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me on that. But congratulations.
Yes, thank you, Brian, and congratulations, Gage. And I'm sure Brian, he put his contact information in there. If you have any questions about corporate events, I'm sure he'll be happy to connect with you. With that, are there any other announcements or anything else we need to discuss during this May meeting?
Brian, did you see Gage drop the contact information in there?
Yep, I see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful kickoff to your summer. I know school is out for almost all of us. Hopefully, I'm close to all of us. And it's going to be an exciting summer. Wish you well. And we will see you hopefully June 4th for our in-person event. For those of you that can't make it to Fort Campbell, we'll have our July Zoom meeting normally scheduled that 4th Tuesday in July. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.